Hi everybody, Nichols here with a little tutorial all about borders. Now this is not crossing borders, this is making borders, and a lot of us quite like the idea of putting borders onto our photos. So I've got a couple of techniques I can show you here that work really nicely. The first one is to use the simple crop tool. And in order to make this work, we actually need the photo kind of shrunk down on the page a little bit. So I'm using the Control or Command minus tool, okay, just by pressing Control or Command and the minus key in order to shrink it down. So what I'm going to do is this, I'm going to click off the picture. So do not click in the picture, click away from the picture, preferably top left. Click, hold the mouse down and just drag it down to the bottom right and drag it all the way off into that grey area again and let go. So voila, what I've done there is I've effectively cropped, or I'm going to crop when I hit the green button. I'm going to crop the entire image. Let's see what happens. Ding, absolutely nothing. So there is the good answer. You can't crop an entire image because it'll just disappear. If I were to do the same and then I stopped fractionally before the border, then it would crop it. Okay, so by pulling it all the way through here, I don't give it anything to crop. So the trick here though is then to twofold stage, is to then go in stage 2, pull those crop lines. Whoops, I'm going to just actually escape out of that and do it again, simply because I think I goofed. There we go. Did Robin goof? Yes he did, I think he did. And I'm going to pull it out. I accidentally went into rotate mode, and sometimes I've done it again, you see, I've gone into rotate mode. And you'll find that happens occasionally, and it's really annoying because it's kind of hard to get out. So just cancel that by hitting the red button, go back, grab a corner and just pull it. Grab a corner and pull it. Okay, I can use the arrows on the keyboard, left and right, just to line them up. So the disadvantage of this is, I suppose it's a twofold operation, but the main disadvantage is it's kind of hard to get precise equidistance between, you know, the left hand side and the right hand side and so on and so forth. But when I press enter or return, bang, it takes the background color, which is by default white, and sticks it around the edge. How cool is that? Now I typically then get phone calls from students saying, Robin, I really like this, but I want to change my border to blue. And I think, well, fine, what you have to do is undo, because to actually colour this blue is quite complicated. You know, I'll have to sort of select the inside photo and then invert it and then throw a bucket of blue paint into it. So it's a bit of a long-winded way of doing it. It is much better just say undo, click on the background colour, choose blue, like that, and then repeat the process of cropping, making sure you get it right, Robin. This tool option thing popping out just drives me bonkers. There we go. And we just get an equidistant on the top, something like that. Probably need to pull this down the screen a little bit like that, and then press enter, and there's my blue background. So choose the color first, by all means, choose the color first, then go off and create that border. All right, second way of doing it is probably a lot easier. First thing I'm going to do though is just check how many pixels per inch this is going to print. So let's assume we're going to print this in a book or in an inkjet printer. So I go to image resize image size and have a look, and it says aha, resolution is 72 dpi, and it's going to print 1.2 meters. Okay, 1.2, nearly 2. So that's huge. It's ridiculous. I don't want to print a 2 meter wide picture. I haven't got a printer that big. So I'm going to say let's just change the resolution to 300 dots per inch. And the reason I do that is you just push the pixels closer together. Because they're closer together, when you zoom in, they're very high resolution and are perfect for printing. So you notice I did that with resample image off. It is very, very important, because if I leave resample image on and then I change it to 300, it actually resamples or adds pixels, and now my file is 1.02 gigabytes. I could just do that. It's going to work it out, and wallop, there's, you know, it looks fantastic. And this picture is now going to be printing quite nicely at 2 meters wide. Absolutely huge. So don't do that. So we need to go image, resize, whoops, image size, coordination test. Uncheck the resample image box and just say, look, just change these figures. Easy peasy. Click OK. You can probably save it as well. Alright, so nothing changes in the photo at all, other than the fact that when it prints, it's going to push those pixels closer together and give you a fine or a high resolution result. Alright, so let's get on to the border bit. The border bit is pretty much similar, except we go to the canvas size. Alright, we go to the canvas size feature. And the canvas size feature, you know, when I started doing Photoshop, I just couldn't suss it, I couldn't work it out. What is the canvas size? Canvas size is like a photo. It's like the backing board or backing paper to a photo. So if the canvas, so a standard photo, like a JPEG or a RAW file, when you look at it on the screen here, the canvas size is invisible, because the canvas size is the same size okay, as the photo. It's the same size as the photo, so you can't see it. It's rather like having, you know, a rectangular plate on your rectangular table mat that's the same size, so you can't actually see the table mat. All right, but if you go and get yourself a bigger table mat, you suddenly see the table mat sticking out around the edges of the plate. Well, that's my theory anyway. So what we're going to do here is, if your relative button is not checked, I'd suggest you check it. And the reason I'm saying that is very simple. I find it a little bit hard to look at these 47.55 by 31.7 centimeters and work out how much extra I want to add. Okay, like that. So do I want to convert it to 49.5 or 50.55? You know, there's always a temptation to round it up or round it out, and I may get it wrong. So I'm just going to click on the relative button. That means relative to the current size, we can add an extra centimeter, pixels, inches, percentage, or what have you. So what I might do is, so 47, that's quite big, so I might actually turn this into millimeters. Now, what I think about this is I'm going to add a very thin white key line. So I've already got white set down the bottom here. If you haven't, and for some reason you don't see it, you can always click on the little color square here. Click on that. The color picker here arrives. We can then go and select white and click OK. Millimeters, I'm going to add 5 millimeters, and I'm going to add 5 millimeters. Now, here's a massive tip for all you Photoshop fanatics. Instead of clicking, dragging to the left to highlight the figure, and then typing in a figure, what you do in all these Photoshop tools is you can either click on the word, hold the mouse down, and just zoom to the left or to the right while retaining the pressure on the mouse. Okay, how cool is that? Or you can literally just click that word and it highlights it, and I can just type in 5. Click that word, type 5. Okay, and that works with a lot of the tools in Photoshop Elements, so do give it a go because it speeds up the entire process quite nicely. Wow, and he's added a white border. How cool is that? This is actually not so much a border, it's more a key line, I think. If we were going to be dead technical about it, I'd say that was about a key line. So the process is like this. I'm going to add a second border, and I'm going to add a black border. So before I start, I'm going to change the foreground and the background color, and you can do that by clicking on the little pointy, bendy arrow thing like that. Or alternatively, I can press X on the keyboard. So I don't need to do anything, I just press X, and now the background is going to be black. So this is where it's a little bit tiresome. You go resize, canvas size, yeah, right, okay. Border. This time I'm going to be a bit more adventurous, and I'm going to put in, I don't know, 1 and 1, and click OK. Oh, that didn't work very well, did it? Because I wasn't watching, and I find that talking and looking at the same time, sometimes a little bit hard. So I'm going to change that to make sure we've got it to 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, but make sure we've got black. There we go. So there's a black border. Third one, I'm going to go exactly the same. And this time I'm going to choose white again. So my suggestion is keep it simple, because if you start adding really colourful borders, the photo is going to be overpowered. So now I'm going to put another border on. I'm going to put 3 centimeters and 3 centimeters. It's going to be quite thick. Woo, it's beginning to look quite cool. And you can keep on going. One thing that students love doing is, of course, selecting colours out of the picture. So let's put a thin key line using a colour from in the picture. So again, return to resize, image size, canvas size, there we go. And I'm going to put millimeters again, probably, oh gosh, it's all decision time, isn't it, folks? I'm going to put in 3 millimeters and 3 millimeters. Do not make it really, 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 really bright, because it's going to overpower the shot. So how do I do that? I think, how do I actually get a color? Easiest way to do is just to push the mouse away from here, and I'm going to click on a color. And I want to choose bamboo green, which is over here. Actually, I'm going to go bamboo yellow. All right. I'm pressing Control or Command plus, so it blows the picture up. And I want to select something out here. So simply by moving away from the color picker and moving into the photo, you see a little color picker appears. And I can click once, and it automatically says, well, that's the color you picked on, Robin. That looks a little bit grungy, doesn't it? Let's try that one. Oh, God, that's not getting any better. Anyway, so you get the idea. You can sample a picture from the image. And I'm going to click OK. We need to shrink it down so we can see. And now we've got a brown or bamboo colored border. I'm going to just finalize, or to finish this off, by going back to canvas size one more time. I'm going to choose, of course, white, and I'm going to choose something like 4 and 4. So we've got a much bigger border there. And to finish this off, I'm actually going to go back and add a little bit more to the bottom of that particular one. So image, resize, canvas size. This little fella here is a direction finder. It actually points the direction of where the real estate, the added border, goes. So if I click up at the top and I say, look, just increase the height by, let's say, another centimeter, it's just going to shove it downwards. So what you'll see here is no expansion of the width or the height, but the length or the, there we go. Very simple, and that's how we make borders.